so glad you're here. I've been waiting for you. I have so much to tell you. Oh, have we been through a lot. It's been a wonderful journey. But make yourself comfortable. It's a long story about a long journey. Maybe you remember at first we were in Ur of Chaldees. That's where we grew up. That's where we were raised. It's where we were born. It's where our family and all of their family were from. But then Father Terah had a word that we should leave Ur of the Chaldees, that we should go to another land, a land where there was a different God. And so we left. Me, Sarai, brother Abram, and Lot. We left with our father Terah, and we left with Nahor and with Milcah. We traveled all the way to the land of Haran. And in Haran, we stayed there for a time. We raised our livestock. Some married, some were given in marriage. I, myself, was given to brother Abram as his wife. Nahor, our brother, took our niece Milcah as his wife. Things were going well, but Father Terah died there in Haran. So we left, just Abram, myself, and our nephew Lot. For Abram had had a word from God, the same God that had spoken to our father Terah, to seek out a new land, to make a place for this new God. And so we left Haran. We left our brother Nahor. We left our niece Milcah. And they began to raise their family. But we traveled without family, just with our nephew Lot. And we traveled to many lands, to many places. We came into the land of the Canaanites. And there God spoke again to my husband Abram. And he said, "This land I give you. Walk this land, in every place your foot treads, that place will become your nation." And so we began our journey. We began walking and walking the length of the land, the breadth of the land. But before we could accomplish our journey, a famine took over in the land of the Canaanites. And so Abram led us into Egypt, where there was much food. As we entered Egypt, he noticed the Egyptians, man, woman, and child, all looking at me. They were wondering about this beautiful woman, foreign, coming to their land. And fear gripped Abram, and he came to me and he said, "You know they're looking, you know they're wondering. It will be only a short time before Pharaoh himself wants you as his own. You must tell everyone you are my sister. For indeed you are my sister, though we had the same father, we have different mothers. But you must do me this kindness and save my life, and tell them you are my sister, so they will not murder me so that they can take you." I did him that gracious favor, but what happened was, though they let him live, he received gifts and presents from Pharaoh himself. He received cattle, he received sheep, he received gold and silver, he received maidservants and menservants, he received all goodness. But then Pharaoh took me into his harem. I knew not what to say. We would be caught in a lie. I just trusted that everything would go the way this new God wanted it to go. Was I to be the wife of Pharaoh? Was I to bear children for Pharaoh? Was Abram to find another wife? For I had been barren many, many years, and it was a man's right to have another wife when the wife of his youth did not bear him children. It had gone beyond many years, into many decades now, and though I was beautiful at the time, I was still childless. And a man without a child is a man without a future. A man without a child is a man whose name dies. And so perhaps I was to be cared for by this Pharaoh. Perhaps that was the God's provision, while Abram took a new wife to give him sons. I did not know, so I went silently, and I waited. Pharaoh didn't call me. I was curious why Pharaoh was taking so long, but then I understood there was a purification ritual. They were washing me, they were cleansing me, they were ridding me of my foreignness. They were bringing me into a life of the Egyptian woman, with oils, with scented waters. So my time had not come yet that I was pure enough to be in the presence of Pharaoh. But in time, I knew it would happen, and I didn't know what to do. In the meantime, God appeared to Pharaoh, and God told Pharaoh that I was indeed the wife of Abram. God threatened to kill Pharaoh, and God had already put a plague upon the house of Pharaoh, where none of Pharaoh's women, not wives, not concubines, not the women of his household, not the servants even, were able to conceive and bear any children. And God said this plague on the household was a result of my being in Pharaoh's harem, the wife of another man. It should not be so. And so Pharaoh rose early, and he called for Abram, and he declared unto him the dream from God. And Abram made excuse and said, I didn't tell you a lie. She is my sister. We have the same father, but not the same mother. And so Pharaoh gave Abram even more wealth, even more money, even more servants, and sent me with my husband. And so we traveled back into the promised land to make our journey. Where our foot would step, there would be the land. But Abram was so discontent without having an heir, he was ready to make a servant that we acquired in Damascus on our journey to the promised land. He was going to make the servant of Damascus his heir. He had been born in our household from one of the Damascus servants. And so Abram thought of him as his own child. But he went before God and he said, I am about to make my heir one of my servants. One of my servants to become my heir. This should not be. Should you not give me a child, God? And so God promised Abram that he would give him a child from his own flesh, from his own blood, from his own bones. This made Abram happy, for God said, look up at the stars. Do you see the stars? Count the stars. Your heritage will be more than the stars. And God said, look at the sand. Can you count the grains of sand? Your children will be more than the numbers of the grains of sand. And so Abram was very pleased. And so we waited, and nothing happened. No child was born. But God had said Abram was going to have a child of his own loins. He did not have to make his servant his heir. Then I began to think, perhaps this beautiful handmaid, this Egyptian woman who served me with love, perhaps she was to become the mother who would bear the children on my knees. For the custom was, when a woman was barren, that her servant could bear for her, and she would bear the children on the mistress's knees, and it would become the mistress's child. And so I thought, yes, I could hold Hagar in my arms as she labored and birthed, and when the child came out, it would lay upon my knees and be my child for Abram. So swiftly I told Abram of my thought, and he agreed, and he took Hagar into his tent, and he lay with her, and all was well. And then, when Hagar realized that she was pregnant with Abram's child, she despised me. We had words, and they were harsh words. I went to Abram and I said, what am I going to do? She despises me. This girl whom I loved, whom I put in your care, now that she has seen what you have done to her, she hates me. Help me, Abram, I said. Abram said, no, she's your servant. You do what you want with her. So I went back, and I knew no better than to return unto her what she gave unto me. And so when she despised me, I sent her back equally hate. And the words became rifts between us, and the chasm became so great that nothing could bridge it. And so this young girl fled with the child of my husband, with the child she was to bear for me. My surrogate mother left. She was nowhere to be found. But in time, we heard the story. She returned, and she told us how she had gone with no food or water, and she was thirsting and hungering, and she sat beside a bush, and she began to weep, that no one cared, that she would die alone in the desert. And suddenly the angel of the Lord appeared unto her and said, Hagar, God loves you. What is wrong? And she told of our quarreling. And the angel said, go back, submit to your mistress, for you shall bear a son, and you shall name him Ishmael. And Ishmael will be the leader of a great nation. He himself will be a great one. And so when Hagar came back with that story, we all rejoiced in God. And she delivered the child upon my knees, and it became my child. And we raised it together without incident. And all was well. And one day God appeared again to Abram. It had been 14 years since Hagar birthed Ishmael. And God came to Abram and said, Abram, I trust you. I believe in you. I want you to be my man in this earth. Make a covenant with me, and I will make a covenant with you. We will cut the covenant and agree. You will raise your children to honor me. And I will bless you, and I will make you a blessing wherever you go. I will make your children a blessing, and your children's children a blessing. And so God instructed Abram how to cut the covenant and instituted a covenant of circumcision of the flesh upon each male. And each male in our household, Abram, Ishmael, All the servants and their children were all circumcised that day. And so it was that we rejoiced once again. And then God said, Abram, you are going to have another child, a child by Sarah. The child of Sarah will be the child of my blessing. Yes, your second-born child, the one from Sarah, will be my chosen, blessed heir. And so Abram laughed. He said, how is that possible? I am so old. How can I bear a child? And time went on. And we journeyed and we settled over near Sodom and Gomorrah. And so it was that we happened to be camping just a hill away from Sodom and Gomorrah when angels appeared. 3 of them came and they spoke with my husband, who was sitting at the entrance of the tent. And he noted that they were angels from God. And so he called to me. He said, quickly, go prepare the fatted calf. Go prepare bread. Make a feast for these men. And so I did. I hastened and I hurried and I prepared a banquet for the men. And as was the custom, I served the men and I left them. For women do not sit in the company of men in our tradition. And so it was, I was on the other side waiting to hear if they had other needs, if I was to serve them something more. But all that I heard was one of the angels say that this time next year, Sarah will have a child. Well, I can't tell you, inside I was just tickled. And so inside, my heart was laughing. And so the angel called out for me and said, why is Sarah laughing? And I said, I'm not laughing, because indeed I had not. Just inside of me, I had not uttered a sound. But the angel insisted, you laughed. Then I remembered that my husband had laughed earlier about the same thing. How can one so old, with the deadness of my womb and the deadness of my husband, how could we bring forth a child in our later years? For I would be 80 years old and my husband 100. How is this possible? And so it was that the angel arose and said, this will come to pass next year at this time. Sarah will be nursing a child. And so the 3 angels departed. My husband Abram followed them out a ways. And now Abram, whose name had been changed to Abraham, and my name Sarai had been changed to Sarah. And so it was that the 3 angels began to leave, and one turned and said, should I not say to Abraham what I am going to do? The other 2 angels stood and waited. And the 3rd angel said, I will tell Abraham what I'm going to do. The 2 departed, and the one remained and said, the cry of sin from Sodom and Gomorrah is so great that I must destroy them. I must destroy the sin and the sin makers. And Abram, remembering that Lot and his family, his wife and 2 daughters lived in the town, the girls were betrothed. They were going to be married in the future. How could this happen, that they be destroyed? So Abraham spoke to the angel and said, Lord, oh, but you wouldn't destroy an entire town just because of sin. If there were 50 righteous people in the town, you would not destroy it. And the angel said, No, I would not destroy it for 50 righteous people if you asked me, Abraham. And Abraham said, Well, now, Lord, if there were just 40 righteous people in the town, you wouldn't destroy it for 40 righteous people, would you? And the Lord said, No, I wouldn't destroy it for 40. And Abraham said, Well, now, just perhaps there are only 30 righteous people in the town. Now, you wouldn't destroy it for just 30's sake, would you? And the angel of the Lord said, No, I would not destroy it for 30's sake. And then Abraham said, Don't be angry. Don't be angry. I'm just gonna ask you once, just what if there's only 20 righteous people? You wouldn't destroy them because of the sin of the town, would you? 20 righteous people would have to perish for the sin of the town. And the angel said, No, I would not destroy the town if there were 20 righteous people in the town. And Abraham said, just one more time. Now, what if there's only say 10 righteous people in the town? Now, you wouldn't destroy the town and those 10 righteous people, would you? And the angels of the Lord said, No, if there are 10 righteous people in the town, I will not destroy the town. And so Abraham let the angel go. Now, we found later what happened. Oh, what a story. Smoke was rising the next day. It was amazing. It looked as if the other side of the hill had gone on fire. And in fact, it had. And so it was that we saw the smoke and the fire and the brimstone. And we knew that there had not been 10 righteous men in the town. And time went on, and it came as the angel had said, and I bore a child from my own body, a child for Abraham. And we named the child Isaac. And Isaac grew and became the focus of my life. And since Ishmael was now a teenage boy, his mother Hagar had more involvement with him, and I cared for the young Isaac. In the course of time, Isaac was old enough to wean. He was about 3 years old, and he and his brother Ishmael were playing, as they often did. But I saw Ishmael tease Isaac in a way I hadn't seen before. And in my heart, something spoke to me and said, It is time that the boys be separated before evil comes. So I spoke to my husband and I said, You must send away Hagar and her son. To me, it did not seem a punishment, for Hagar had been a servant, and now her son would not be the heir, for the heir had been born of my loins and my body. And so sending Hagar away would mean she would be free, would mean she and her son could make lives of freedom outside of the camp of Abraham. And so I spoke to Abraham and I told him, It's time to send Hagar and Ishmael away. Oh, Abraham was so grieved. He spoke to the Lord and he said, Oh no, that Ishmael might be my heir. And the Lord said, No, Isaac is your heir. But Ishmael will become a great tribe. There will be 12 princes from him. He will be great. He will have a good life. And so Abraham was told to obey what Sarah had said by the Lord. That Sarah had been right to send Hagar and Ishmael away. So in his grief, Abraham rose early in the morning, and he gave Hagar bread and a flask of water, and he sent her away. But Ishmael would always be Abraham's firstborn son, even though Isaac is Abraham's only son. And so it is that as time went on, life became good. Life became so good. And I have lived my 127 years loving my son, loving my husband. And it is a good life. For I remember back to the time when I was told the story of our mother Eve, when in the garden she and Father Adam sinned and were sent forth into this world. He to till the ground by the sweat of his brow, to work with the thorns and the thistles, to eke out a livelihood. And she to go forth to bear the child who would become part of the link to the Messiah, the Son of God, the Savior of the world. And so Mother Eve bore Seth, and Seth bore his son, and on to me, and Abraham, the father of promise, me, Sarah, the mother of promise, with a miracle child, Isaac. Would he be the Messiah promised of God?